I am deep in the maze of underground concourse beneath Center City, Philadelphia, and next to me are SEPTA Faregates. They are powered up and completely functional. If I tap my keycard, I will be charged $2.50. They're just like the ones you'd see at a SEPTA metro station. Yet these gates don't lead to any trains. They just open onto a blank wall. In fact, you can easily step around them. So why does SEPTA have these? The only way to find out is to go for a ride. Wait a minute. But it's alright, I can just get on this full-size bus over here. According to the Americans with Disabilities Act, which incidentally turns 35 years old this summer, public transportation like SEPTA must be accessible to and usable by passengers with disabilities. If I told you to describe accessible transit, you'd probably think of things like bus ramps, elevators and train stations, priority wheelchair seating, and the like. Things that make a space physically accessible. But by this definition, making sure people know how to use transit is also an important part of accessibility. So that's why SEPTA has a special place just off the mezzanine of Suburban Station, where people of all abilities can learn to use transit and get the transportation resources they need. Welcome everyone to the SEPTA Accessible Travel Center.
I'm Catherine Fleming. I'm an occupational therapist that works at SEPTA. The Accessible Travel Center is a space in Suburban Station where we have a mock bus, a mock subway platform, a conference room, and some testing areas where we are able to bring people in to practice the skills that you need to take public transportation in a low-stress environment.
The Accessible Travel Center has been in operation for about 12 years. We provide travel training for groups and individuals, for anyone who needs travel training. We also perform paratransit assessments here, and all the services that we have here are by appointment.
Travel training, in case you haven't heard the term before, is the process of teaching people how to ride transit. It's like driver's ed for public transportation. At the ATC, travel training can take many different forms. Sometimes that involves school groups visiting the travel center. They can begin the tour with informational video presentations that I may have had a hand in creating. Don't sleep when you're on transit. Don't smoke or vape. Don't play music through a speaker. If you're carrying a backpack, be especially careful not to swing it or bump it into anybody. You can watch these in full at septa.org/accessibility under video guides. Then, visitors can explore the ATC and take a tour of Suburban Station to learn more about transit, with stops at the departure boards, the schedule rack, and the fare machines, where students can learn to put money on their keycards. Let's take a look at the ATC's main area. On this side of the room we have a fake train platform, complete with standard tile, raised bumps near the platform edge, and a drop-off, just not one big enough to fall into. Among other things, this can help individuals with visual disabilities safely practice navigating a SEPTA metro station. 2 frames represent regional rail and SEPTA metro door widths respectively, with backdrops to match. The ATC also has a bridge plate for wheelchair users to practice boarding trains. These are available in SEPTA metro stations next to where a train's front car stops, and an operator can deploy them upon request. Wheelchair users can practice using these here in the ATC before trying them in the real world. Then, of course, there's the ATC's star attraction, a full-size mock-up of a SEPTA bus. And this thing is detailed. It's got a real LED display and a bike rack on the front, and when you board on a real wheelchair ramp, you'll find a driver's seat and fare box, before coming inside to a mock-up of the priority seating you'd find on a real bus. These seats fold up to make room for wheelchairs, and they include all the straps and hooks that anchor wheelchairs in place on real buses. Wheelchair users can make an appointment with the ATC to learn about these features before using them on their transit journeys. Oh, and the stop request cable actually works. Travel training can also be individualized. Anyone who is physically and cognitively able, regardless of disability, can make an appointment with the Accessible Travel Center to learn how to navigate a SEPTA route of their choosing. One of SEPTA's brilliant occupational therapists will accompany them over a series of transit trips to instruct them and help bolster their independent riding skills.
Travel training can look different across diagnoses. We will travel train anyone. You do not have to have a disability.
When we do individualized travel training, we go on the system, we'll go on the bus, trolley, subway, train, and we do all the things that you would need to do to take public transit.
And the ATC doesn't just want people to come to them. They are regularly out in the community, appearing at or putting together events around Philadelphia to promote transit and educate riders on what accessibility features they can expect on SEPTA. I had the privilege of accompanying them to a static bus event in South Philly, where they brought an actual bus from a nearby garage to a rehab center and set it up for people to tour and learn about its accessible features. Many wheelchair and mobility device users got to know things like ramps, wheelchair securements, and onboard turning radii through this event. And for people whose disabilities prevent them from using regular accessible transit, there's SEPTA Access, SEPTA's ADA paratransit service. The ATC team assesses individuals to see if they qualify for paratransit services based on their medical needs.
So we do physical, cognitive, and psychological assessments. Physical assessments, we look at things like balance, pain, endurance, fall risk. And psychological, we're looking at different symptoms of different psychological diagnoses that might impact them being able to take the bus. Cognitive assessments, we're looking at things like safe stranger awareness, street sign identification, safe street crossing knowledge, things like that. So we're looking at all the things that a person needs to do to take SEPTA and why they can't take SEPTA safely and independently, and that's what we're looking at for eligibility.
Through these assessments, trainings, and events, the SEPTA Accessible Travel Center team helps ensure transit is both accessible to and usable by Philadelphians of all abilities. So what does all this have to do with Faregates that don't serve any trains? Well, imagine a wheelchair user comes to the ATC for travel training. They've never ridden SEPTA Metro since they started using a chair, and they're nervous to try and navigate a crowded station alone. Here at the ATC, they can practice using the accessible Faregates and piloting over a bridge plate until they feel comfortable enough to be travel trained on the real system. Or imagine a student with autism visits the center. They've never encountered Faregates before, and they're confused by them. But here in the center, they can practice using them in a low-stress environment. Then they can go out into the station and practice again for a real train ride. With more travel training, they might learn to ride SEPTA independently all over the city. In other words, these Faregates to nowhere can become Faregates to everywhere. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of Classy Whale. If you're a longtime fan of the channel, consider supporting my Patreon for early videos, access to the Patreon Discord for content creators, and weekly episodes of my after show, Extra Whale. In this week's episode, I'm chatting with Catherine Fleming, one of the occupational therapists from the Accessible Travel Center, about all things accessibility. It's a fun one, and you don't want to miss it. Huge shout out to the SEPTA ATC team for letting me film in their space, and for all the things they've taught me about transit accessibility. I'll see you all next week.